What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you, and one to round out this week's releases of the 31st of May, and one that I've been eager to go over because one of the guitarists in this band actually sent me a copy of the first one, and I really enjoyed it. Saw they were coming out with a new one, and I figured we needed to do a full-blown review for it because I only covered that last one in the collection update. So we are going to go over the latest album from Idle Throne, a Clarion Call. Again, this also comes out on the 31st of May on Stormspell Records. This band formed in 2018 in Indiana. This is their second album. Again, I went over their first album, The Sibylline Age. And it was one Jason Schultz of Wraith that sent me a copy of this a while ago. He got a hold of me on Facebook and said, hey, would like to send you an album and see what you think about it. And he already knew that we liked Wraith because we've been over Wraith quite a few times on here.
Yeah.
And I said it was game, and he said, okay, it is thrash and power metal. So I know you guys aren't like the biggest power metal fans, but I was like, no, bring it on. I mean, I'm willing to check it out. My tastes have changed over the years, even though power metal is one that's still kind of iffy with me. But I ended up really, really liking that debut. And this one really expands on that.
I've never heard this band before today. I knew it existed. Again, Jason Schultz from Wraith. We've been over Wraith. I've met Jason, hung out with him a little bit. Great guy. So, yeah, when Nick said, hey, I've got this other band from Jason from Wraith, I said, okay, cool. And then I said, what is it? And he said, thrash and power metal. And I went, because I like thrash, but power metal and I don't necessarily get along. Granted, I haven't had a whole lot of exposure to power metal. You know, a little bit of Iced Earth, a little bit of Stradivarius. But it never really was for me, per se. But much like Nick said, you know, we wanted to give this a go. And I figured, because we've done a lot of things on this channel that I necessarily haven't been into in the beginning. But I did them and really liked them. So I kind of went in with that mentality.
Yeah, and I had a hunch that this was going to be good, mainly because I really enjoyed the first one, and the balance between thrash metal and power metal, I think, is really solid, like, because, you know, of course it has its soaring epic moments and huge vocals and just great melodic hooks, but it also has, like, a good thrashy bite. Like,
oh, yes.
I wouldn't necessarily compare this to, like, a lot of, like, European power metal. I would compare it more to U.S. power metal or bands like Forbidden or Sanctuary, maybe a little bit of Nevermore, and even like Sabotage and Anthrax occasionally. But this one had some interesting surprises that kind of came like later on in the album too, because I know that Jason has another project that is slightly more prog oriented, and I think some of that kind of bled into this, but it did it in a really cool way. But right from the rip, the opening track, Eclipticon, is a massive statement. It's 7.5 minutes, and it is just an amazing riff fest.
Oh, and an amazing riff fest is 100% of this album. I would like to, you know, give it something fair and say 85%, but I can't. This whole album is nothing but riff after riff, and this song most specifically. Yeah, kicks in the door, instant harmony, instant galloping riff, and we're off to the races.
I would say it does more than kick in the door. This charges through the door in a Econoline van with a wizard and a dragon and a knight spray painted on it, and then out comes the crew all dressed for LARPing in the park, and then they drink all your beer.
Oddly enough, that's pretty close to what I pictured.
Now, the opening track here, the first thing I really noticed outside of the fact that my face was being melted off by riffs was the fact that there's a little bit more vocal variety on this one. The first one, they definitely stayed more with clean singing, and their frontman is an excellent singer. And props to the production because it all sounds very natural. It doesn't sound like there's a ton of filters on his vocals. They sound like pretty much like what you would get live. But he also does some more harsher vocals. Like, they're not like, you know, growls or like full on like black metal screams or anything like that, but they are like harsher thrash vocals, which was something that didn't show up as much on the first album. And that being kind of like paired off with his more clean singing and like almost kind of like Judas Priesty sort of vocals occasionally really kind of opened this up. But this, you know, was just almost kind of a minor thing in terms of opening up this album, because this is a much more like broad listen, and I would even say more dynamic than the first one.
It's comparisons like this that make me really wish I had listened to the first record. I honestly haven't. This is my first exposure to this band. Now, back to what I was saying too about power metal. Usually when you think about power metal, you don't think of things like aggression per se, or I don't know. I really find most power metal to be campy, and
It's a lot of cheese.
All the cheese and the epic soaring vocals, and like, I mean, granted, I like more of that now than I used to, but yeah, don't think about aggression. But this band definitely has aggression. Songs like Petrified and the absolute fucking banger System Simulacrum. Petrified has a ton of heavy riffs, machine gun riffing. Like, dude, the riffing in that song, I wouldn't necessarily even call thrash. Like, there's a lot of straight up death metal riffing in that song.
It's super heavy. Like, I was legit shocked. And again, I've heard the first album, and there's tons of like galloping thrash chugs and, you know, just what you expect from a band that has like thrash in their pedigree. This is just way more aggressive. The picking speed and just like how it's being played, it's so super heavy and fast and chunky. It's notably one of the heaviest songs of the album, and it taps into an aggression that I wouldn't say is like reserved for, again, like thrash metal or, you know, power metal or even classic heavy metal. Like this, again, kind of gets a little bit more towards the extreme side.
And then System Simulacrum, really, honestly, I think this is one of my favorite songs on the album. There are so many rad, awesome riffs in this, but again, full of very heavy, aggressive riffing. Like, almost nonstop. Though that whole song is a banger.
And that song brought in some elements that I really wasn't expecting, like namely, like more technical play and I would flat out say like progressive metal flourishes. Man, like this kind of just moves outside of the vein of power metal and thrash metal. Like it still has like thrashy aggression and big vocals, but the songs themselves, there are some incredibly elaborate guitar runs and harmonies on there that are well outside of the scope of just thrash metal and power metal for sure.
Yeah. And the breakdown in that song is a beatdown. There's an actually like enforced style beatdown moment in that song that I wasn't expecting either, because that type of beatdown, as far as a breakdown is concerned, doesn't happen in the rest of the record, period.
Yeah, overall, I would say like this album is just a bigger album than the last one. The last one, I feel like they had it like a mission statement. They wanted to go for a very particular sound. This one really kind of opens up the floodgates as far as styles, transitions, riff changes. Like this one, I wouldn't call it like experimental because they are still staying like kind of true to what they started out with, but they just added more to it. And these songs are huge. Most of these songs run like over 5 minutes or so, but you have like big 7.5 minute ones. There's an 8.5 minute song on here, and they are loaded with just great riffs, great vocal hooks. Everything is done on here with such a great attention to songwriting dynamics and melody. Man, these songs are flat out catchy. But, you know, they balance that out so well with just being like flat out aggressive too. And that's kind of that whole comparison between US power metal and European power metal. US power metal is generally a lot heavier, and, you know, European power metal's a little bit more sing-songy. I mean, it's kind of campy. It's very cheesy at times. I'm pretty sure like most European power metal fans have ingested so much audio cheese that they haven't pooped since like, I don't know, Halloween's debut album. But US power metal, again, it has like more of that crunch, more of that sort of viciousness. Like you can hear that on like a lot of classic stuff, and you can definitely hear it here. But again, these added elements, and one of the biggest added element I would have to say is prog metal. And we kind of teased a little bit of that on System Simulacrum, but man, like there's a lot of like proggy moments. The opening track, Eclipticon, like, you know, going into the bridge, there's some really cool off-time drumming and just some riffs that kind of sound, again, like a little bit outside of, you know, just standard thrash metal or power metal, like, you know, power prog, again, like coming back to bands like, you know, Sabotage, Crimson Glory, stuff like that. But when you get down to the title track, legit, this song sounds like they're covering an old prog song, like Rush, yes, Gentle Giant, stuff like that. There's a totally different vibe and a huge, like, sort of change in, I guess, like, the entire, like, kind of, like, theming of this album, too.
Well, it gets very folky. If folk prog was a thing, this would be that.
Yeah.
And the way the song kind of flows, like the vocals for the most part are fairly subdued. Like he's not projecting, he's not belting them out. He's simply just singing them, and like the drum beat even, and they're just kind of like a wave back and forth, and it's really kind of neat.
Yeah, the guitar interplay is amazing, and back to the vocals, a lot of the backup vocals on here are like gang vocals. Again, like a little bit of that thrash aspect comes in, like you get some good shouts that kind of back up the clean vocals. But here there's like some really pronounced vocal harmonies on here to match up with the guitar harmonies. And just the way the song is structured, and even the pace of it is notably a little bit slower overall. Like it's got a couple of faster moments, but it kind of has, again, this like kind of like stuttered kick and kind of like, I don't know, like fun swing to it. But yeah, the blend of folky elements and prog was not something that I was really expecting on here, because it really wasn't anything that was on the first album.
And then the last track, if you really want to talk about an epic presentation, A Falconer's Cry is an instrumental track, first of all, and that's something really cool because this whole band really shines. Like, we didn't even really touch on lead work. All the lead work in here is just fucking amazing.
There wasn't a solo on here that I didn't like.
Nope. The lead-in for this is pretty epic too. It's got a great build to it. It goes from calm, and then you get these awesome like harmony sections that come in, and these really big toms, and like the presentation here was really neat.
It's strange, like when it started building up, like it starts off very atmospherically, like there's like rain, and it sounds like the ocean and waves, and you get like these clean melodies, and it's weird. As the song went on, I was thinking about Queensryche. Like it kind of has like kind of that almost mid-period Queensryche sort of vibe. But at the same time, when the clean guitars come in, just the way they're being strummed, I thought of Crowded House's Don't Dream It's Over. I know, very weird, but there's just something kind of there about it. But the song builds into this just grand, riffy, just, I don't know, kind of proggy jam, and it is an absolutely excellent song. It also features some really good synth accompaniment to just add to the layers of harmonies. Like by the time the song ends, it is a giant swell of melody and beautiful harmonies. Again, great lead trade-offs, both guitarists. And sorry, I didn't write down the name of the other guitarist because I don't know him. I know Jason. No offense. You're awesome too. There's an lead on here I didn't like, and I know these all weren't Jason because it said both of you guys played lead guitar, and I believe the archives in this case. There's even bass leads on the song too, which didn't write down the bassist's name either, but he did a fantastic job on there too. But I like the fact that it builds this huge crescendo and then quiets down to the way the song started, like very intimately, more atmospheric, and man, does it cap off this album really well. But yeah, there was like so much to pull from this album as far as influences. Like the song The Last Voyage, I feel like there's like some subtle nods to like Megadeth circa Rust in Peace. Like I kind of heard a little bit of Tornado of Souls, kind of also heard a little bit of the end of She-Wolf off of Cryptic Writings too. You know, just great thrash harmonies. It kind of has like, you know, a very Megadeth-ish beat. In fact, if you put Dave's vocals over this track, it wouldn't sound as good, if I'm being completely honest. But it would sound like a Megadeth track. Like there's a lot of just like flat out killer thrash riffs on here, but man, like how they're mixed up. Like it's not just like a very stock thrash style. Like it isn't just like, yeah, we just pulled from the Bay Area stuff. Like there's a lot of technical play. This album is quite something else.
As far as negatives are concerned, I really had to look hard to pick out anything. One thing I will say, although the mix on this record is killer, we did have to turn it down a notch. When we had it full blast, like we normally have most of our records when we do reviews, it kind of like bled together a little bit. I don't know exactly what that was. I don't know if like the rhythm guitar has a little bit too much crunch on it when it's played really high. I'm not sure what it is, but we did have to turn it down a scotch. And then the other thing I had was sometimes, and I guess by sometimes I mean namely once for me, I thought there was a time when there were abrupt shifts between modes of the song. For me, it appeared in Petrified, because you get that heavy-ass riff in the beginning, you get machine gun riffing, it is balls out, and then the chorus comes in, and it seems like a little bit more subdued, or like it even the rhythm it changes to just kind of, to me, seemed like it didn't fit. But, that's my opinion. Nick fully disagrees. So.
Well, I mean, I kind of like the fact that it showcased, like, just extreme dynamics, and it showcased, like, both sides of the band. Like, they went all out on these verses, making them, like, honestly, some of the heaviest moments on the entire album. But they wanted to show off, like, yeah, we got a good melodic, very epic chorus. So it's a big, like, Jekyll and Hyde moment on here.
But that being said, too, this record is not without big epic choruses. Like the chorus in System Simulacrum, dude, that chorus rules. That is an epically catchy chorus. So, it's not like they have trouble, going from something super heavy and riffy to a chorus and have it gel. I didn't think it necessarily gelled and petrified as much as it did in other songs.
Yeah, System Simulacrum has, like, one of the best choruses on the album. Like, it almost has, like, some Dream Theater vibes, except with, again, better vocals. Because I don't think James Labrie could sing this song at all.
No.
I don't think he can sing much right now. My only, like, big gripe in here might have been Covenant of the Immortal. While I like it, it's got a really cool syncopated pattern to the riffs and the drums. That one, it kind of traipsed a little bit too far into, like, the seas of cheese. And it was like, not the style of power metal that I necessarily like, where it's a little too sing-songy. Like, it's a good song, got a killer breakdown on it with, like, a neoclassical lead on it, but that was about it, and it really wasn't something that ruined the song. Even when I wasn't, like, a huge fan of, like, some of the more power metal moments, there are riffs on here that just absolutely just keep these songs going, and a lot of this for me just came down to killer songwriting and, man, like, just flat out killer hooks.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this album's a banger, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it 4 stars. Like, this could grow to be a 4.5 over time. This is an excellent listen, aggressive, but again, very catchy. Like, it definitely checks off a lot of stuff for power metal. So if you're a big power metal fan, you're gonna find a ton of stuff you like in here, especially if you're a US power metal fan. But if you just like good thrashy aggressive riffs, there's plenty of that. And Prog, I was not expecting, like, some flat-out proggy moments on here, like, Fate's Warning stuff. Like, that was totally not on my bingo card for this album. I feel like this is a big push from the first album. I thought the first album was really solid. This one just expands their sound even more, and I don't know, like, it's kind of an all-encompassing listen. Like, it's just a solid metal album. If you are a big fan of any of the litany of bands that we went through, because I'm pretty sure we went through, like, a lot of bands to compare this band to, check this out. Yeah, we're not huge power metal fans, and here we are gushing about it. That should be something right there to make you want to check this out.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give this 4 stars, too, and trust me, it is leaning right now somewhere in between 4 and 4.5 stars. Like, this is a damn good listen. First of all, the guitar work. You guys, both of you guys, Jason and the guy we didn't look up, I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
You guys are fucking incredible. And the way you guys play together, like, all these harmonies rule. Especially, once again, I keep bringing up this song, but I'm going to keep bringing it up because I love it. System Simulacrum. Dude, there are a ton of ascending and descending riff runs in there that get harmonized, and they're just the coolest thing ever. Yeah, I'm not a power metal fan, but this is a damn good record, and if this is what US power metal is, maybe I need to listen to more of it. I don't know. The musicianship on here is killer, the drum work is amazing, the bass work, although it doesn't necessarily appear till later in the record, pretty much notably the last 3 songs I think are when the bass really comes out to play, and it's awesome. The vocals, look, it took me forever and ever and ever and ever to get into clean vocals in metal. Like, the sing-songiness just didn't jive with me years ago before we started the channel, and then, of course, I got into things like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, and, then it was kind of fucking over from there. The vocals are great. Again, a lot of great vocal dynamics between the cleans and even the more, like, harsh vocals. Like, I've never heard the first record. I'm going to have to go back and listen as a comparison, but
it's good. This
record rules. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, every song is entertaining. There is something excellent in every song. I can't rant and rave too much because A, I don't know a whole lot of power metal, and B, I haven't heard the first record, so, I mean, I can't really say too much, but I can just tell you what I like. Musicianship is killer. The songs are killer. Like we said, if you're into, pretty much a litany of bands, Forbidden, Anthrax, Nevermore, old Dragon Force. There are some old Dragon Force moments. I can compare it to the vocals, at least, I think.
Fair.
Yep. Caligula's Horse, Dream Theater. Again, I wasn't expecting there to be Prog. But yeah, definitely check it out for yourself. I was pleasantly surprised. This is a pretty banging album.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below at thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also in our channel up in the banner in the bottom right-hand corner. But if you want Thralls Metal stuff, you have to go to thrallsmetal.com. We have t-shirts, both old and new. The old ones are discounted, provided we have your size, and we even have hats too. So if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below.
And as always, tons of stuff going on at Thralls Metal, because that's what we do. We got album reviews up the wazoo, because bands just keep releasing albums, and we're going to keep reviewing them. We got a discography ranking coming. Meshuggah is on the docket. We will get to that here pretty soon. We're waiting for Miller to get back from, where is he, Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico.
Yeah. June 11th, we're going to do a Maryland Death Fest recap. We went to Maryland Death Fest along with our buddy Jeff from Gas Masks and Hand Grenades, and then our buddy Jimmy over at Future Ruins. We're going to do the stream on Jimmy's channel, again, Future Ruins. We had a really, really good time at MDF. I don't know how much you got into that.
So many stories.
Oh my God, dude. So many things happened, so many awesome things, so many wonderful bands. Anyway, so we're going to do that, and I'm sure if you've been on our YouTube lately, or our Instagram, or even our Facebook, you've seen a bunch of short videos, because, we saw like a record, 42 bands or something like that? Yeah, in 5 days. So, anyway, tons of stuff going on. We couldn't do it without you. We keep doing it because of you. Thank you to all of you, all of our subscribers, and people that watch us just in general. We appreciate it. It's been a real awesome ride. Again, we get to run into tons of you at Maryland Death Fest. That was fucking awesome. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys absolutely roll, and running into fans, it's always fun, man. You guys are awesome. So, one more big thank you from me, and we will catch you later.